हेलो दोस्तों, मैं हूं स्मिता कुमार और आप देख रहे हैं आपका अपना हेल्थ चैनल पेडी सर्कल। क्या आपको पता है ओवेरियन कैंसर महिलाओं में होने वाला 8वां सबसे आम कैंसर है। करीब 78 यानी 78 महिलाओं में से एक महिला को ओवेरियन कैंसर होने का खतरा होता है। ओवेरियन कैंसर ज्यादातर 63 यानी 63 वर्ष से अधिक उम्र की बुजुर्ग महिलाओं में देखा जाता है। मेडी सर्कल आपके पास लाता है राइट इन्फॉर्मेशन सीधे एमिनेंट डॉक्टर्स और एक्सपर्ट्स की जुबानी, इसलिए इस चैनल पर आप हमेशा ऑथेंटिक कंटेंट ही पाएंगे। आपके लिए यह वीडियो देखना इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि यह इंफॉर्मेशन देता है एक ऐसे फॉर्म ऑफ कैंसर के बारे में कि जिसकी ओर अगर आपका ध्यान समय पे नहीं गया तो वो शरीर को काफ़ी हद तक नुकसान कर पहुंचा सकता है। यह कैंसर है ओवेरियन कैंसर। महिलाओं में होने वाले इस कैंसर के बारे में हमने कई एक्सपर्ट्स, सीनियर डॉक्टर्स, ऑन्कोलॉजिस्ट से बात की। उनसे ये पता करने की कोशिश की कि इस बीमारी के लक्षण क्या हैं, सिम्टम्स क्या है, कारण क्या है और इसका ट्रीटमेंट कैसा है और किस तरह से प्रिवेंटिव स्टेप्स लेकर के हम इस बीमारी से बच सकते हैं। तो आइए वेल एक्सपीरियंस डॉक्टर्स से जाने कि वो इस बीमारी के बारे में क्या कह रहे हैं। अगर आप हेल्दी रहना चाहते हैं, बीमारियों से दूर रहना चाहते हैं, इफ यू वांट टू स्टे अवे फ्रॉम ऑल द डिजीजेस, स्टे ट्यून टू मेडी सर्कल, स्टे हेल्दी।
Although ovarian cancer may occur at any age, it is more common in women older than 50 to 60 years of age. India has the world's second highest ovarian cancer incidence. Since the 1980s, there has been a growing drift of ovarian cancer in our country. MediCircle is conducting an exclusive series featuring eminent oncologists and specialists so that people can get direct and more reliable information from them. Hi, I am Amrita Priya, and you are watching MediCircle. Today, we have Dr. Deepak Chhabra on our show. Dr. Deepak Chhabra is a surgical oncologist with close to 2 decades of clinical practice. He has operated thousands of cases of various forms of cancers. Dr. Chhabra is a certified robotic surgeon. He specializes in treatment of gastrointestinal, hepatopancreatobiliary, breast and utero-ovarian cancer surgeries. He is associated with Leelavati Hospital, Hiranandani Hospital, Breach Candy Hospital, and Pretty Care Hospital. So welcome, Dr. Deepak, to MediCircle.
Thank you so much for a warm welcome. Tell me, Amrita.
So to begin with, Dr. Chhabra, what is ovarian cyst?
All right, I think this is a very common question which has been asked by so many people when they come to me with ultrasound report, and suddenly they are scared because there's something which is like a cyst. So one has to understand that a cyst in medical language basically means that it is a fluid-filled sac. Now, when there is a small fluid-filled sac which comes in the ovaries, that is called as an ovarian cyst. Now, the question is, what is an ovarian cyst and why does this ovarian cyst develop? You have to understand that the ovaries are the organs in the female which produce the eggs for a future fertilization. And how is this egg formed? The egg is basically formed within a small bag, which you, in a medical language again, call it as a follicle. So you can understand that there is a small bag within which there is an egg. And when this follicle forms, it generally gives the form of a cyst. So you call this as a follicular cyst. Very, very common. When this egg breaks out, ideally that follicle should rupture and just finish it off from there. But then there are certain times where this particular follicle, the egg ruptures out and the area of the rupture seals again. And when this area of the rupture seals again, their fluids keeps on forming inside and then develops a much more bigger cyst. So this sometimes can lead to what is called as a corpus luteal cyst. Now, again, these follicular cyst and corpus luteal cyst, these are very, very common, and there is no need to worry about it for people in the ultrasound report. Then there are a couple of other cysts, which are again these fluid-filled bags, which come from some glands from the ovary, but maybe either on the inside or the outside. And these are related to either the endometrium, which is basically a lining of the uterus. But instead of it being in the uterus, there is sometimes such lining exists in the ovary. And these can give rise to cysts. The way you have menses, at that particular point of time, these cysts grow. So there are endometrial cysts, and then there are certain cysts which develop what is called as a cystadenomas. So this is in general what an ovarian cyst is.
Okay. And what are the chances of women who are taking fertility drugs in having ovarian cancer? Like, is there any risk of that?
All right. So we do not have a lot of proof, conclusive evidence that fertility drugs do cause cancer, because if that is the case, then nobody would go for conception by means of IVF procedures. We need to understand the difference between the two drugs. The fertility drugs, what do they do? And versus there are other drugs which women take, which are the oral contraceptive pills, what we call. Fertility drugs are the ones which induce ovulation, which induce egg formation. Right. So when you have a fertility drug which is inducing egg formation, that means you are increasing the number of follicular cysts and the cysts which are growing in the ovary. So by way of natural hypothesis, you are stimulating the ovary. And suppose in case if an individual is genetically predisposed to developing an ovarian cancer, such patients may develop an ovarian cancer. But if you have to see all the articles which are available in the literature, or if you read much more in detail about it, fertility drugs are associated with ovarian cancers, especially in those who have not conceived because of fertility.
Okay.
So there are fertility drugs which are given to the people, and the people who have conceived because of fertility, of course, the whole concept is utilization of the hormones. So the body has, the women already have hormones because of the ovaries. You are giving the extra stimulation of the hormones to such women. And when you are giving the extra stimulation, there is an excessive hormone in the body. And this excessive hormone is the reason for majority of the problems. So if there is a pregnancy, the hormones are utilized for maintaining the pregnancy and they get washed away with the pregnancy. But if the hormones are not utilized, you remain with excessive hormones in the body. And those are the cases where it has been shown in the literature that fertility drugs can produce a higher risk of ovarian cancers, especially in women who have not conceived after taking fertility treatment.
Okay.
Right. Versus there is another aspect of ovarian, what you call as suppression by what is called as an ovarian contraceptive pills. I think we can discuss that off if there is a question on that.
So you can continue explaining that, Dr. Chhabra.
All right. So what does the ovarian cancer or oral contraceptive pill do? Many people have this confusion that am I taking more estrogens? Am I taking more pills? So if you see the egg formation is stimulated by estrogens, that is a part of the fertility treatment. But the birth control pills or the oral contraceptive pills that the women take, in that situation, you are suppressing the ovulation. You don't want the ovulation to happen. You don't want the eggs to form. That is why there is a contraception. Right. Okay. And for having an adequate contraception, you don't want the eggs to form. So here you are suppressing the egg formation. That means you're suppressing the formation of eggs. And because of that, the formation of cysts decrease. So actually birth control pills, if taken by a woman after having a childbirth, or for that matter, over a longer period of time of 4 to 5 years, is actually a protective mechanism for ovarian cancers.
Okay. So this is something new. And Dr. Chhabra, what is the link between obesity and ovarian cancer? Are there chances of it with gain in?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Obesity, individuals have been defined from various aspects on the basis of the body mass index to being from overweight to obese. 25 to 29 BMI would be considered as an overweight. To anything above 30 would be considered as obesity. Now there have been various trials, and various clinical studies about obesity and cancers in general. We have a strong association of obesity with many cancers, which include cancers even of the thyroid, even of the food pipe, and even of the uterus, endometrium, as well as the ovary. Do we have conclusive evidence? Now, individual experiences are different, and world-related or evidence-based experience is something which is totally different. If you look at the evidence, there has been a larger study. I don't remember whether it's been, I think, in 2017 or 18, where there was a large analysis of obesity versus ovarian cancers. And when they looked about obesity versus ovarian cancers, they took all aspects into consideration and took out all the data where people have used different terminologies like overweight. People have used terminologies like obesity. People have used terminologies like waist to hip ratio, ovarian tumors, ovarian cancers, and taking all these what we call as the keywords, they have found almost about 43 studies. And within these 43 studies, there have been about 16 odd studies which have linked obesity as to a strong association with ovarian cancers. There are about more than about, I would say 23 or 25 odd studies which have not been able to link conclusively about ovarian cancers and obesity. And 3 studies have been absolutely inconclusive. So if you have to look, the situation is divided. But if I have to look at the fact that, yes, we don't have a conclusive evidence of an ovarian cancer with the obesity, we do have some of the 16 studies which do suggest that there is a strong association of obesity with ovarian cancers. Now, again, coming to the cause, one suddenly starts wondering as to why obesity again and ovarian cancers. That is because, again, it's a combination of the hormones and the fat. There is a peripheral conversion of the fats into estrogens, and the higher the amount of estrogens in the body related to cancer. So in women, if you see, obesity is associated with breast cancer, ovarian cancers, and uterine cancer. So yes and no, both.
Okay. So now if we are talking about obesity, and we also discussed that it generally affects women of older age. But if women who are obese and young, is there chances of ovarian cancer in them as well? Though there is non-conclusive report, but what do you say according to your experience?
Yes. So see, well, if you have to ask, our entire knowledge is based on evidence-based studies, and if we have to look at the evidence-based analysis, we are really divided. But yes, you have a point that obesity from a younger age group is much more dangerous than an obesity which is developing a post menopause or in an elderly age group. Though we are seeing ovarian cancer risks much more higher in the elderly age group, for women who are obese, with a high BMI in the younger age group, believe me, there are multiple other problems. When you have obesity, you have a kind of a deranged hormonal functions. There are so many people who are developing ovarian cysts. There are so many of them who have insulin resistance. Right now, if you have to go into the depths of why obesity causes cancer, you have to see that it is at the molecular and genetic level, where it has the ability to alter DNA structure. There are inflammatory changes which happen because of obesity. And as I said, there is a peripheral insulin resistance in patients like this. So when you have these obesity related, inflammation which is going on in the background, that is the one which poses you at a risk. And especially it produces a high estrogenized kind of environment in women. So because of that, it is natural, as I said, it is natural to assume that obesity should be associated and may be associated with a higher risk of cancers in women at a younger age group, for sure.
All right. And what about the risk factors? Like, how can we prevent risk factors from?
Right. So to prevent risk factors, we need to first understand why does ovarian cancer happen. Correct. Now, very fact, you're a woman and you have highest risk of you are having ovaries. So of course, you have a risk of ovarian cancers, breast cancers, and the uterine cancers. Age, again, is not at our hand. Being a woman is not at our hand. The third factor is there are certain inborn mutations, which you call as nowadays, because of the breast related, we know that there are BRCA1, the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 mutations. Again, these are genetically related. It's not in our hand. So what exactly is there to prevent in ovarian cancers? Basically, it's the associated factors. And what are these associated factors? These associated factors is one, what we say is obesity. The other one is what we say is to wash out the hormones in simple layman terms, that you need to wash out the hormones from your body. And how do you wash out the hormones? That means the pregnancy is one of the important aspects in women's life, that if you get pregnant, if you have breastfed, these are the ones which actually wash out your hormones. So I think an age of marriage becomes important, an age of childbearing becomes important, breastfeeding becomes important. And so these are the things that women need to take care, that you need to have the right age at marriage, you need to have a child, and if you have a child, you need to have breastfeeding for that particular child. We've seen so many women who are working in the corporate kind of setup, they want to delay marriages because of some corporate, whatever you may call the pressures of your office or the socials or whatever you may call it. And even if you have a child, then you don't have that much of ability to spend time with your child. You have your targets, you have all of that kind of things. So the other external factors take priority. I think we need to kind of get into a much more a lifestyle related factor to kind of have a prevention to that. Of course, in general factors which otherwise prevent any kind of cancers would be reducing your risk for obesities, having a good physical exercise and a training for something about 20 to 30 minutes every day, having a good exposure to sunlight, especially in the morning hours, not smoking.
Okay. All right.
The other two factors which I can think is that somebody who has a tubectomy or a tubal ligations, I really don't know if it really, these have been questions which have been put to me, whether, to have a tubectomy or a tubal ligation, does it save you from ovarian cancers? I think not really. If at all you're going for hysterectomy for some purposes, that means you're going for removal of the uterus for any particular purposes, there has been a general trend to preserve an ovary for the hormonal functions to take over, at some point of time. But if you are closer to about 45s and 50s, I think I would recommend people to get it out rather than think about hormonal changes, because then you are actually at a risk. So if there are no ovaries, there are no ovarian cancers. But then I'm not trying to generalize to say that everybody should get the ovaries out. You have to calculate the high risk. So especially if you have a family background, if you have a first, second, third generation relative who's had a cancer in the family, I think these are the ones who need to take that kind of precautions. And the last thing, as I mentioned, maybe oral contraceptive pills are beneficial. But again, there is a big controversy of should we give it to every lady who comes to the consulting, or for that matter, should we just prescribe it to everybody, in the community? I think that's not the right answer.
Yeah. So very well explained and insightful session with you, Dr. Chhabra. You answered our questions in a very easy to understand way, so that laymen can also get some insights from it. Thanks a lot for being part of the MediCircle show.
Thank you, Amrita. Look forward to more interactions from you guys.
Yes.